Hello and welcome to our first of the season, Week 1 First Look Cash and GPP lineups. I am your host, Jacob Brown, and I am super excited to say finally, we are in Week 1. And there is so much to be excited about this week as we prepare our lineups and hopefully cash. And mainly, I want to go over the importance of how to win cash games, how to win GPPs in this video. And at the end of each description, I will provide a first look cash game lineup and a first look GPP lineup. It's just great to talk about football again, guys, and I'm ready to get started. So let's go with how to win cash games. How do you win cash games? It's pretty simple if you ask me. So when you're constructing a cash game, which implies playing in contests such as head-to-heads, double-ups, or 50-50s, you want to use the players that you're sure about, the ones with the highest statistical floors. Don't worry about stuff like ownership, percentages, or game theory. Here's some cash game tips. Target a 2.5x salary. Our goal is to at least get 125 Draftkings points for cash game lineups most weeks. That will be enough to reach the top 45% of the field, and which is considered profitable. Quarterback flexibility. Since quarterbacks have the ball in their hand every week, or every play, we can more accurately project their outcomes. I will always at least consider a cheap option at quarterback in the 5K range due to the fact it's easier for them to hit their floor of points. Game flow plus running backs. More than likely, running backs fare better when their team is ahead on the scoreboard. That's less true for some and more for others. What we don't want is for a cash game running back on the bench because there's teams behind. This is why you want a workhorse back whose team is a favorite. Ideally, cash game running backs will be game flow independent, meaning they're on the field heavily involved. Most of the time, these are the most expensive backs. Trying to fit 2 or 3 of them will put gaps in your lineup in other positions. So strive to stay as game flow neutral as possible. Deeper wideout stats. While it's fun to watch big play guys score touchdowns, it's not always viable to use them in cash games. One of the best stats to look at for a cash game wide receiver is ADOT, a Pro Football Focus metric which stands for average depth of target. The most reliable receiver is the ones with low to mid-range ADOT because their direct correlation with catch rate. Catch rate, targets, and ADOT need to make sense when selecting the cash game wideout. Catches are gold on Draftkings because we get 1 full point per reception. Floors. Cash game lineups should not be rocket science. Use the guy who gets you the most touches, high percentage targets, and QBs most likely to get the 2.5x value. Worry about the floor of your projections than the ceilings. Don't worry about ownership. Play the right plays. If you play the right plays, more than likely, you're going to cash, guys. Just don't overthink it. Go with your gut. Have projections on your side. And just have fun with it. Don't overstress about cash game lineups. And to give you a good example, I'm going to show you what I think is a good first look lineup for week 1. Here's our first look cash game lineup. And at the top, we start with the newly informed starter, Mac Jones. Mac Jones is 4,400, guys. This is exactly what you want for a cash game. And I really love the fact that Draftkings came out with these prices so soon, because there's a lot of underpriced players on this slate that you just got to take advantage of, and I have quite a few of them right here. So, Mac Jones starting against Miami, 4,400. Guys, he could easily reach 2.5x value. Like, I really can see a version of this game where he can go over that value at that price point. So he's definitely, in my opinion, I mean, we still got 5-6 days before finalizing these lineups. But as of right now, if today was Sunday, Mac Jones would be in my cash game lineup. So lock him in there. Further news breaks, we get some news that maybe Trey Lance or some other cheap quarterback is going to start, then we can delve into it a little bit. But right now, Mac Jones should be your guy in your cash game lineups. Then we move to running back. Mike Davis. Look, guys, he's just too cheap, and he's going to get a lot of volume. He's probably the best cheap option as of right now. He's going to get volume. He's going to get he's going to be on the field, guys. They're home team favorites. They got a good implied game total. I really like this game for Mike Davis, and I really think he should be in your cash game lineups as of right now. Then we move on to Joe Mixon at 6,200. Like Mike Davis, he's at a great value. And also like Mike Davis, he doesn't have anyone behind him on the depth chart that's going to take away snaps from him. And also like Mike Davis, he's going to be a part of the passing game. I can see Mike Davis and Joe Mixon being big parts of the passing game. Unfortunately, the Bengals aren't favorites in this game, but I feel like Joe Mixon is going to be heavily involved either way, just due to the fact they don't have a lot behind them. They don't have a Giovanni Bernard taking snaps away. Mike Davis doesn't have anybody to worry about taking snaps away, so they're a good 1-2 punch to start for your running backs. And now we move to wide receiver. Davante Adams, 8,300. Look, guys, this guy's just good at football, and you could go a couple different ways here. You could have went Tyreek Hill if you like that game better. Those top tier wide receivers that we discussed in the video, a video from a couple of days ago about wide receivers, the guys from that tier, they're all good. I just like Davante Adams the best out of those guys in that tier, and they look to be able to perform at a high level. But I think Davante Adams is the best one. He's the most expensive, but he's also the best. Look for him to have a good game. He's going to get heavily targeted. The corners and for the Saints aren't that good. Marshawn Lattimore, not that good. When he faces those big star wide receivers, we've seen big star wide receivers take advantage of Marshawn Lattimore, and I don't see any reason why Davante Adams won't. Then we move on to Brandon Ayuk. Now, I really like this game for a lot of reasons. Detroit's going to be playing from behind, guys, which means San Francisco's going to come out early and score a lot of points. And I really think Brandon Ayuk is going a bit overlooked. I feel like he's the best receiver on this team. He's going to get peppered with targets. He's going to get some opportunities to go downfield. I can see this guy going way over the 2.5x value. I can see this guy getting at least anywhere from 7 to 10 targets this game. Should be a really good one. Then you move on to Marvin Jones Jr. at 3,600. I've been saying this for the last 2 months since prices came out that Marvin Jones is just criminally underpriced. And playing the Houston Texans, I want all I can get from Marvin Jones. We do have a little bit of concern. He had a shoulder injury similar to what Justin Jefferson had a couple weeks ago. But I really think Marvin Jones, he will be on the field. He is going to play, and he's going to be a big part of what the Jacksonville Jaguars want to do in the passing game. Roster him in your cash games, guys. Don't even think twice about it. Then we move on to TJ Hawkinson. I like TJ Hawkinson a lot of the same reasons I like Brandon Ayuk, except the roles are reversed. 49ers are projected to be heavy favorites, so they're going to be out early. And when teams are behind, they're not running the ball, they're throwing the ball. And TJ Hawkinson is the best pass catcher on this team, and I feel like Jared Goff's just going to pepper him with targets. Expect this guy to get at least 10 targets week 1. He's one of their best receiving red zone threats, so expect him to also get some looks in the red zone. I really think he's got a good shot at scoring a touchdown this week. Definitely somebody I'm considering the roster for cash games. Definitely somebody to keep an eye on. Then we get to the poster boy, Christian McCaffrey. Guys, this is just plain simple. He's an automatic lock in your cash games. Don't even think about putting in anyone else but Christian McCaffrey. He belongs right here at 9,500. I love the opportunities he's going to get in this game. You got a lot of cheap value here with your receivers and your running backs to get them in there. And Mac Jones automatically opens the door for automatically loading in Christian McCaffrey. If I had to say 2 players were guaranteed to be in your cash game lineups as of right now, it would be Mac Jones and Christian McCaffrey. Just start with those 2 no matter what. You don't have to use any of these other guys, but as you're doing your research this week, keep Mac Jones in there. Keep Christian McCaffrey in there. Those guys are just, in my opinion, automatic locks. Then we get to the defense, Atlanta Falcons. I don't love this defense or anything, but it's kind of hard to not want to use them. They're minimum price. They're playing an Eagles team that just isn't good in any aspect. Falcons are favorites. They're at home. Same reason why I like Mike Davis. And I've just been thinking, like a week ago, the Eagles traded for Gardner Minshew, which tells me they've got some doubt about Jalen Hurts. And what if that doubt just kind of creeps in week 1 and you see him choke against the Falcons, and the Falcons just go out there, get a couple turnovers, maybe a couple sacks? I can definitely see the Falcons exceeding this value. I think they're a little underpriced. They should be more like 2,700. I definitely like this Falcons defense, and they will more than likely be in my cash game lineup. Like I said, guys, this is not a guaranteed put it in lineup. Later on this week, we'll go over these cash game lineups again. And as of right now, though, if the season were to start today, I'd feel very good about this lineup. But yeah, we'll go back to that Friday. Expect the video of our final look cash game lineup. But as of right now, this is what I got, and I really like it a lot. Now, let's discuss GPPs, which honestly, this is my favorite thing to do in Draftkings. I love playing tournaments. I make 150 plus lineups a week. For sure 150, sometimes a little bit more. Never less. Always 150. So, here's some tips on how to win GPPs. And this is real important. You need to know what you're getting into when you enter a large field GPP. You need to know how to construct a lineup. A cash game lineup and a GPP lineup are two complete different things. Don't ever put your cash game lineup in your GPP. That's just a big mistake. You're going to be facing a lot of experienced team owners, some of who enter, like I just told you, hundreds of lineups. So you're going into shark-infested waters, so you need to be prepared or you're going to almost always lose. So here's some GPP tips. Draft a boom or bust quarterback. What does a boom or bust quarterback mean? Well, it really means draft a high-priced quarterback. These guys that are super high-priced, like this week, for instance, Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, those guys are boom quarterbacks. They're high-priced for a reason. So they're supposed to do awesome. And when you look at projections, you see somebody like maybe Patrick Mahomes going to be projected to score 27 points. That's their floor. You want them to boom. So 27 for them is a floor projection. 38, 42. Those are boom projections, and those are what's going to win you tournaments. So my best advice is, have a couple of low-priced GPP plays at quarterback, but majority of my plays, the guys that I have the highest percentage on, especially when I'm making 150s, are the expensive high-priced guys, because those are the guys that are supposed to do big things, and you got to have them. And this second tip is something that I just got to stress to so many people, because I see this mistake getting made all the time. Create a solid quarterback wide receiver stack with a run back option. Now, in a GPP, you want to use that boom or bust quarterback with the wide receiver, possibly their best wide receiver. I personally don't do the quarterback, wide receiver, run back option stack. I personally do a boom or bust quarterback, two of their pass catchers, and a run back option. What is a run back option? A run back option is a player on the opposing team that should do good, just as good as the receiver on the other side that they're facing. Which is why you want to look at Vegas totals. High point total games. Those are the games you want to attack, and you want run back options from those games with your quarterback wide receiver stack. It's just the way the industry's going, guys. If you don't do this, you're not gonna be successful. I don't know, I gotta stress this so hardly. Stack a quarterback with a wide receiver and a run back option. If you're me, this is what I do. I do a quarterback, two pass catchers from the team, which is a wide receiver, tight end, or a pass catching running back, and then I stack it with a run back option from the opposite team. You have to do it if you want to be successful in tournaments. Now, you need to focus on upside. Upside in all positions. Look, I said draft a boom or bust quarterback, high price, but you want to focus on upside in every position. So you got the stacks, and then you want to, with the positions you have left, like when I create a lineup, I start quarterback, I fill in my stack with my pass catching option, and then I fill a run back option. And then after that, you got a couple other positions left. You want to do mini stacks within your huge stack. So, for instance, if you stack Patrick Mahomes with Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce and run it back with Odell Beckham, try to do something where you get like one of the other high point total games with Tennessee and Arizona, for instance. I'm not saying this could work, but I'm just giving you an example. In that mini stack, you want to stack up something like Rondell Moore and Julio Jones or something like that in a mini stack. You want to do that as best as you can because those are the upside games. Mini stacks along with a solid quarterback, wide receiver stack with a run back option is just vital. You got to do it. So you do the quarterback, wide receiver stacks with a run back option, and then try to do 1 to 2 1v1 stacks from other games to fill in the holes of your lineup. Slot a high volume receiver in the flex. That's something that I want to poke on for a second. With the things I just talked about with the stacks and the run back options, I typically try to get the highest volume, highest priced wide receiver in the stack, and I put that receiver in the flex. I do that a lot, and I think that's something important to say. So do your stacks and your run back options. Put the most expensive receiver from that stack or that run back option in the flex. It just creates a lot of upside, and it's something that a lot of people need to realize. Now, we get to draft some players with low percentage ownership. I think a lot of people get confused with having a low-owned lineup and just going completely overboard with it. This is something you need to focus on. If you're playing the Millionaire Maker, I understand to get a little weird. You got 150 tries to win $1 million. So yeah, go for it. Be weird. But when you're in these other tournaments, you might want here's something that's really going to shock you and just blow your mind. With these stacks, you want to look at the ownership of your quarterback, because most likely if your quarterback is low owned, your stacking option is going to be low owned. So when you say draft some low percentage ownership, you already did it with your stack and your run back option. If it's a low owned quarterback, most likely it's a low owned stack and a low owned run back option. So what you can do with the rest of your lineup is play some popular players because your stack is already low owned itself. Just some advice there. Something you'll really need to think about. Every player doesn't need to be low owned on your team. Unless you just want to take a shot in the Millionaire Maker, go for it. But if you're trying to profit, you're not playing the Millionaire Maker. If you're trying to profit, you're playing in smart, reliable contests where you know where you can get your advantages. As I've already said earlier, check Vegas odds for high over-unders. Point totals are very important in DFS. If you see a high point total game, you want to attack it. Go after it with the stacks. All year long, I'm going to preach stacks on every video. So just get used to it. A high turnover defense is something that you really want. I just talked about the Falcons. I don't think they're the best high turnover defense, but you got to look at who they're facing, and you got to look at their offensive line. You got to look how their quarterback scrambles all the time. You want a defense that's going to play against a high passing volume quarterback or a team that's going to be playing from behind. Now, this is something that's also very important. The smaller the contest, the better. What do I mean by that? So, I had to learn this the hard way, guys. I've been playing DFS since 2016, and I had to learn this the hard way. I would play in contests that had thousands of people in it, like 10,000 people, 120,000 people, whatever. You're just not going to be profitable that way, especially if you have to multi-enter. So my best advice for you guys, if you really want to profit, you got to play high dollar single entry contests. I try to play contests that don't even have, but maybe the most I'll play in a contest is like maybe 400 people or less, but I really try to stick with the 200 people or less range. It just limits the people you have to beat. It really helps the less people you have to play, the more money you're going to make because you're in a high volume, high dollar tournament. So the smaller the contest, the better. It just eliminates a lot of garbage you got to deal with in those big, huge field GPPs. Which brings me to my next tip. Make 150 lineups every week to get the best outcomes. What do I mean by that? Actually, you know what? My last two tips kind of go together. So I'm just going to go on a little rant here for a second because this is also something very important that I do every single week regardless. So make 150 lineups every week to get the best outcomes. But you need to have reliable data. Have a database projection and ownership to go off of. I use somebody that's a YouTuber as well that has really tremendously helped me because he has player sheets, he has databases, he does his homework, and ownership. His ownership's pretty spot on, or at least it was last year. So you gotta use ownership, you gotta use projections, and you gotta build 150 lineups. And you gotta be smart with your ownership. For instance, if Patrick Mahomes is like the third or fourth highest owned quarterback, in 150 lineups, let's say he's 17% owned. Double that. Don't just go with what the field is telling you. The ownership is here to help you guys. If you think Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback on the slate, go big on him. Don't just go the bare minimum or the average. Go over the ownership that he's projected to have. Because more than likely, you're going to get some really good options. And that's really all I got to say about that. But when you're building your 150 lineups, I know a lot of people don't have time to do this, but I treat this like a real job. So what I do every week is I get maybe 7 to 8 quarterbacks I really like, and I fill out on a notebook every viable stacking option that they got with the run back option. I create that in a notebook, and then I go to my site where I look at my projections and make the lineups into the optimizer, and then I load them up. That takes me a couple hours, but it really helps me, and I give this advice to you guys because I really want it to help you guys. I do play 150 lineups every week in one tournament, and it's not something that's going to like break my bankroll. It's the 50 cent 150 tournament, $75. 50 cents per lineup. I've done pretty well in it some weeks not so much. Because some weeks when there's heavy news, injury news, you can't go through and fix every single lineup right away, but I've done some damage on that tournament, and I played the Millionaire Maker a couple times last year when my bankroll built up. But I typically try to stay away from the Millionaire Maker and those high volume lineups, but I do play the 50 cent 150 every week, just because I build 150 lineups to get the top best projected lineups to go into my single entries and 3 maxes. So all that work I don't want it to go to waste, so I do use all 150 when I can. So that pretty much sums up my GPP tips. I hope somebody got something from this, because I really want to help you guys as much as I can. I want to cash. I want y'all to cash. So hopefully y'all got something out of that. Now, here is my first look GPP lineup. And I don't want y'all to automatically think this is it and y'all don't have to do any more work for the rest of the week. Because Ryan Tannehill, he's under COVID-19 protocols right now. He hasn't reported practice yet. So that's something to keep an eye on. But I love this Tennessee-Arizona game. This lineup is obviously made without no ownership yet, but it's something that I think is going to be very viable if news goes the way we hope it goes. So let's just break this down real quick. Ryan Tannehill, 6,500. Let me show you what I mean by stacking and with a run back option. So in this stack, we got Ryan Tannehill, 6,500, good quarterback play. Stack him with his best wide receiver in A.J. Brown, 7,100, great play. And then you stack him with a cheap option in Anthony Firstlook, and then you got that expensive wide receiver in the flex and DeAndre Hopkins at 7,800. This is gonna be a good stack, guys. We don't know ownership yet, but I'm really liking this stack. Then we go on to Dalvin Cook. He's a good pivot off of Christian McCaffrey, and we got him stacked up against in a mini stack. We got this stacked up against T. Higgins on his opponent's side with the Cincinnati Bengals. I can definitely see a version of this game where these two position players are the highest scoring in their game. So that's a good mini stack. You get Mike Davis, who I obviously have already said is a great value. And then you got a great value in Marvin Jones, who I've loved for the last 2 months, and I'm not getting off him unless he just is ruled out not to play. And then you got the Buffalo defense, like we talked about with the Steelers. Big Ben throws the ball a lot, guys. I know they got Najee Harris now, so that passing volume might go down a little bit, but Big Ben likes to throw the ball. We've heard some pretty bad things about their offensive line. The Bills got a good front seven, so I can see some sacks in this game. Definitely like the potential for this Bills defense. But yeah, I mean, that's a viable GPP lineup. We got to wait on some news with Ryan Tannehill. We got to wait on some ownership, and we'll go over this GPP lineup again in the final GPP lineup look. I'll record it on Friday night, and it'll probably post on Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon. But yeah, that pretty much covers it, guys. I hope you got a lot from this video. I hope you really pay attention to the GPP tips. I hope you really pay attention to the cash game tips, because that's what's going to win you tournaments. Not these first look GPP lineups or the final look ones. What's going to win you tournaments, what's going to win you is doing your homework, doing your strategies, following these tips that I gave you. I really hope I helped somebody today. So if you got any good information from this video, drop a like, drop a subscribe, and we'll see you next time.